Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast to some degree.
For those of you who are new here or don't know us, we are your number one companion to navigating the post-grad experience. Whether you're in graduate school or you're in the workforce or somewhere in between, we want this podcast to help you feel seen, to give you the tips, and to just be, your across the screen friend during this very trying ghetto time of adulthood.
Yeah, the young adult life.
Well, as you all know, I'm Jahari, your favorite co-host and the resident BA of this duo.
And I'm Brittany, your other co host, your resident STEM loving entrepreneur and all around nerd. And
The
yeah,
entrepreneur always gets me.
I don't know why.
I still want to
I
know.
say it every time.
Okay,
I
let
say
me
it
let you go.
every
Let me
time.
let you go. Let me let you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, today we kind of wanted to dig deeper into a topic that seems kind of like an extension from our last few episodes, but it came up in a conversation that Jahari and I were having about the transition between his jobs. Yeah, we want to kind of talk about what's it like to balance the recognition and compensation and kind of recognizing your work and the worth in the workplace and having conversations that seem a little bit more graceful in the job market that we're in, whether you're moving up in house or kind of staying the same or moving up when you're jumping companies. Yeah, Jahari, do you want to give more context to kind of what we were talking about?
Sure. So, um, it's gonna come in the episode after this.
That's fair, yeah.
But I am at a new job
Mhm.
from the last episode that we filmed. And I'll keep my thoughts of it to myself until I can say more. But I did leave my previous job because I felt like they were not only not invested in my growth, but they were also impeding like actively impeding
Mhm.
my growth by shutting down the lanes of part of the lanes, shutting down a portion of the work that I was responsible for, and it would only tell me it was until further notice. And I wasn't in those conversations about why it was ending or why it was taking a pause until further notice. I was just instructed that like you won't be doing this anymore. And being that that was like 75% of what I did on a day-to-day basis, it was like
Yeah, what do you guys need
so
me here
what's
for?
so
Yeah,
what's
where
left?
yeah.
And so when I had the conversation about, because of course you give the job that you're at the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so how do we course correct? How do we, make a move that is beneficial for the team, the department, and the organization as well as myself, right? To make sure that I'm not being stagnant, and to make sure that I'm actually happy to show up to work and contributing something. Um, and so they told me like, okay, well, we won't let you. I don't know if y'all know this. I'm in fundraising. I feel like I've said this before, but if
Yeah,
you don't know, I'm in fundraising.
nonprofit sectors. Yeah.
Correct. Right. So I raise money for nonprofits, and I also, more often than not, write the communications that like how when you get the text from Kamala or you get the emails from Joe. I'm more the email person. I don't write the text. That's not something I do, but like in that arena, like to give you like a real life example.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was like, okay, so are there opportunities to directly fundraise from people? That is where you would meet people, sit down with people, have dinners with people, go to different cities, whatever, and you raise money for the respective city that, you're fundraising for, right? So and I'm getting really in the weeds, but it's important to kind of understand the landscape, right? Like if I was in Atlanta or I was fundraising for something in Atlanta, going to Atlanta or being on Zoom with the folks in Atlanta, trying to get this check from this person and that check from that person. Like that's how it goes. And so they were like, well, there's no opportunity for that here because you don't have. We want people who have 10 years or more of experience with that specifically. Not necessarily that market, but experience
Right.
soliciting directly from people. I'm the youngest person here. I'm the
Right.
youngest person probably that works full time at this organization. Period. Okay, so basically no room there, right? So then obviously this was in January. The conversation that I'm discussing was happening in January. Um, so not the at the top of the conversation, the new administration was the current administration, then new administration or returning administration, I should say, was incoming. And then by the time that the conversation ended at the end of January, they had already come in, right? So we had already sort of went through probably like his first like thing or two
Yeah.
of what he wanted to do by the time I had put in my 2 weeks, and um, they were very they were receptive to me saying at first before the administration came. I was like, okay, the new administration's going to come. We don't get federal funding for what we did, for what I did, for what my the purpose of my last organization was. We did not have federal funding, right? But obviously people who give money are very responsive to this political
Right.
environment. The last time they were very generous. This time they're getting very stingy.
Hmm.
So it is a trying time. We had had a robust department, but nobody was focused on okay, what funds are going to kind of like what what funding is going to like turn into shorter rapid response things to like give you money like on the drop of a dime, which ones are going to like probably slow down their giving for our focus area, all of that kind of stuff, which
Hmm.
is somewhat in the was somewhat in the territory of my boss, who like one of her responsibilities was to research the people to see like what's the appropriate amount. Like Brittany, I should be asking you for like in a year, can you donate $1,000? Not can you donate $100,000,
Right.
right? But there are
Right.
some people who can do that, right? But that's a different question because now we're just talking about what's going to happen to the landscape of where we are,
Yeah.
right? And that's not necessarily under her purview because that's not something we've had to worry about before. So I talked about that, and then like how we can like bolster our events. I got like very much like the okay, we can see what that happens. Yeah, we can see, da, 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 da. Like yeah,
Hmm.
we'll see. But they were very honest in saying we never thought about what you would do, like
Past
in
this
in
point.
the
Right.
right past like
Basically.
the initial job
Hmm.
description. We never thought about it, and so that kind of gave me pause and was like, well, no
Because
wonder
like
everybody
if
knew.
they're saying that now, like they didn't have that expectation past that point either, right? Like they're
Right,
not gonna
right. It almost felt
just.
like you didn't. I don't think you. Dare I say, I don't think you expected me to stay at all.
Mm.
like, um,
Yeah, it's like, was this supposed to be temporary?
right.
Like
Or
y'all
like
didn't
what?
have a
Like
plan for.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
and then for like to be the only person who had an associate role on the team, everybody else was manager, director, whatever. Because like I said, age dip. The next person up from me was 10 years older than me.
And it's
So
also a smaller nonprofit, right?
it was
So
a
y'all's
yeah,
hierarchy was pretty.
semi small. I would say I think a less than 100 people, but like
Okay.
my team was like 12 people.
Mm.
It's a fairly big department, if you will, considering some of the departments were like 3 people.
Hmm.
And then obviously we are responsible for raising $20 million. So there's a huge responsibility on this team, right? And so I was just trying to find like different ways that like this new administration would like I was doing a lot of the work to say like okay,
Right.
well this is what we could be doing. I could do this, I could do that. They were not interested in that. I
Right.
mean, that's just the real of it. They were not interested in that because the conversations never went anywhere. Um, and it didn't seem like they were actively trying to figure everything that I was getting told was like, this is gonna stop, this is gonna stop, and never let's start doing this, let's start doing this,
Right.
how
Like
to it
what
was
way are
just
we going in the pivot? Like there was
exactly
never that. Yeah.
right. So it was just kind of like okay, let's just call it quits. A lot of the rest of them were at a place in their career where they wanted the flexibility. They needed that
Hmm.
flexibility, right? They have children. You know, they have spouses. They have aging parents, right? Like they need the ability to be able to work remotely. They like that flexibility, and it's not their job in jeopardy right now, so they don't care.
Right.
I mean, that's how I felt after these conversations. That's how I felt. And so it was like, okay, Jahari, back to the market you go. And in this market, it is hard to get a job. So when I landed on one after negotiations, and I'm gonna hurry up and stop because I feel like I've been talking most of the 10 minutes that we've been recording. I we After the negotiation period, because you always negotiate.
Always
Their
negotiate.
first
The
offer
first
is
offer is
never
never,
what
yeah.
they can actually give you.
We
You
can talk
never
about
take
that
that.
too, because I mean,
Yes,
again, like there are different ways to be compensated, not
right,
always necessarily in the dollar amount that is written, but
right.
also in, work flexibility, in, you know, PTO time, in,
Mm,
other things that you
right.
can,
Well, I
yeah,
have things to say about that too. So we'll
yeah,
we'll definitely get into that.
we'll get
But
into that, yeah.
yes, I left for a job that did pay, like I got a 5-digit increase, which is like, okay, I'm just gonna say what it is. Let me stop being vague. 10,000, roughly $10,000 increase. It might be like slightly over. Um, but I was like, I'm still like not satisfied. I'm still
No,
not
no,
satisfied. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I don't need anybody else to be okay with that because I think at this point in your career, you need to be hungry. You have to be hungry and you have to do things that make sense for you. If everybody else is just kind of like trying to make you follow a traditional path, which will come up in the next episode.
yeah, let's talk about that, yeah.
But like if somebody's trying to keep you on a traditional path in terms of career progression, you do not have to do it. There are so many different paths in the world now, which may not all exist in a few years, but that's not what we're here to talk about. But nonetheless, there's such an expansive economy. There are so many new markets that are emerging that like you can go work in or you can go level up to work in whatever. You don't have to stay at, okay, well, I want to work up from the associate and I want to become a manager, and then when I become a manager I want to become the director, and after that, yeah, it's not 1980. We do not have
Right.
to do it that way, right? And so as someone who is constantly one like, well, don't job hop too much because people are going to think that you're flaky, and I'm like, well, I can give the tangible reasons why I left your place. So I don't really
Yeah,
care about that. Okay,
yeah,
I can't be that to me feels like a sort of bullying, for lack of a better word, into submission of like this order of where you stay even at a place where you're miserable or at a place that you're not happy with, and it doesn't have to always be about the people. It doesn't always have to be, you know, oh, my supervisor has constantly harassed me racially, sexually, whatever. It doesn't have to always be that. It can
yeah,
sometimes just be this organization is too safe.
yeah.
I
It's
want
not
I
exciting
want
you,
my
it's not
stakes
making you
right.
happy,
I
right.
need higher stakes.
Yeah.
I need a place that's going to feed my hunger. I need a place that's going to
Hmm.
match my energy. I need a place that is going to reward me for my ambition. And often, and we'll probably get into this later on in the conversation, but often in my sector, in the nonprofit sector, not necessarily in people who work with revenue or business development or anything like that, nonprofits can tend to be very static places where there is no choice but to fall in line with that path, um, and that they would not. What did Beyonce say? Underpaid and overwhelmed. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I did want to speak on kind of a point that you brought up where it's like us, when I say us, I mean young adults, just kind of the same general, pool that we are in, but we have to be hungry people, especially in like the job markets that we're in where they're asking for, 5, 10 years experience in certain things, kind of like what you were saying. So
Right.
when you start actually showing that in your everyday where you're like, hey, I'm asking for more complex tasks. Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And it's like way above your quote unquote pay grade, right? It's like,
Right.
these are the tasks that, the job description said. And I'm doing
Mm.
this, or I'm trying to seek this in your like scenario where it's like, hey, like, okay, if we're pivoting, like, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? You're showing them that you want to do different things to
Right.
continue to, build the company in whatever way. And
Right.
it's like, if you're doing those things, I just want to say too, like, it's not asking for too much when you're just asking to be seen, right?
Hmm.
So when you're looking at compensation, or in that case where you just want more recognition in a way, that can look like a promotion, that can look like, just them recognizing that you're doing something above and beyond. Um, and when it doesn't happen, you do have to reevaluate for yourself where it's like, is this company like seeing me? Is this company recognizing my worth? And I think that's kind of what you did in your scenario where it's like, you guys didn't even have a plan for me to grow or move forward. Like, y'all weren't expecting me to want that, you know? So it's like, yeah, this doesn't work for, my
Yeah.
work style, what I want for my opportunities to be in the future. And you have to
Yeah.
evaluate that for yourself. I mean, everyone is different. Um, like, even like you were saying, like, hey, this job is not, fitting my vibe kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have to know your vibe. You have to know yourself before
Yeah.
you move places. But yeah, don't force yourself to stay in the same place and be unhappy either. So,
Yes. Absolutely. Well, okay, so I know you, well, let's just go back while we're here
hmm
to the compensation structures and negotiating.
right.
And like I mean, well, you negotiated a raise. So you've moved in-house. So is there anything to your package that's like different? So, for instance, like when you first came in, they didn't give you equity or they didn't give you stock,
Yeah,
but now you
it's
have that,
actually that's
right?
actually
Like,
exactly, yeah.
yes. Okay.
That is an exact comparison. Yeah. So when I first got into the company, I did not have an equity part of my package, but when I got promoted, I did. So now this is like an added piece that I can negotiate with, right?
Hmm.
Hey everyone, it's Brittany. If you made it this far into the podcast video, I just wanted to take the time and thank you for watching. And don't forget to click that bell icon, like, comment, and subscribe. Now back to the video.
So basically, there's base compensation packages. This is just
Right.
corporate structure, also.
Right. Of
Um,
course.
but base package, salary package, and then most of the time they'll list like kind of your PTO, your other benefits that just kind
Right.
of come with the company, and then now I have this added piece of equity.
Right.
So yeah, I mean those are just different negotiating pieces. But where were you going with that?
Yes. No, because in the sense of when we were talking earlier, excuse me, y'all. When we were talking earlier and we were saying about like negotiations, I don't know if you can negotiate your benefits like on your side, but like because it's like company policy, that often I don't see much wiggle room there. In the benefits, that could be again like a blind spot because of like I work in the nonprofit sector.
hmm
I don't work in the for-profit sector, where it seems like they will give flexibility where they can to like they're like yes we did give him 3 additional days off.
Right.
Like
Right.
it is what it is. But I think more people are trying to be standard there. Um,
Yeah.
so it's usually not in the benefits that you'll see that. Um, at least not after unless there's like a collective action. Like if you and your coworkers are like, we demanded that
Mhm.
you pay, 90% of our insurance as opposed to the 60% you do now, right? Like that's where I see negotiation because that's a collective action. But like in the additional compensation, base salary, like those are your mechanisms
Yeah.
for
No.
individual.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely agree with that. I think it's kind of different from what we're told, like in
yeah,
college, because it's like, oh, you can negotiate with like any piece of it. But now you're seeing, especially just in the economy today,
yeah,
that corporate structures are trying to keep it pretty standard across the board.
yeah,
So there's some pieces that they're not going to move on. But again, what we were saying earlier is that their first offer is never
their best.
their best.
Yeah.
You also have to look. So for me, when I was moving up in the company,
Hmm.
I would say look at your market, do your research beforehand. Like, don't come in just like, well, I want this, Like, you
Right.
have to know your job market, not only in your role, but also in the area that you're living in, right? So for me, I'm like, hey, like I'm moving up as a software engineer. I can look at software engineer base salary packages across the United States, but I live in Atlanta. So I have to look at the Atlanta market to kind of negotiate that way. Um, but yeah, I mean, there is no harm in trying. I
Yeah.
would say, like, at least from my point of view,
Yeah.
after a few negotiating meetings, and they're still not budging, you have to decide at that point whether you
Yeah.
want to, accept that package or not. Because you don't want to look super pushy either,
Yeah.
because that can also turn on you.
Yeah.
So, balancing those kind
Yeah.
of
I
things.
thought that when I went to like the first day when I went into the job, because obviously the negotiation process was remote. I was like,
Mm.
I know HR hates me. I mean, they got what they wanted. I mean, I won't say I came out with the short end of the stick, but they got what they wanted. Like, I got a signing bonus. Um, that was like paid out after the first like with the first check. Um, but unfortunately, the stipulation, which I probably should not have negotiated, was that like if I leave in a year,
Yeah, the prorated kind of
they
agreement.
will
Yeah.
take that money. Which I'm like, sayonara ho. Like, like if I'm deciding to leave, please know that I meant it. I've already calculated the decision that like, oh, this is gonna like come out of the pay. Like, I got it. I got it, right? Like, and then with how long interview processes go, I could get 3 checks probably between that time.
For
And
sure.
right. And so like I didn't make it to a year, but like if you take, X amount of money out of that paycheck when I get it, or that paycheck after I leave, and I'm gonna make sure I leave at the end of a pay period.
That
Right,
part.
like
Yeah.
so be it. So be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. I guess we can kind of move into the area of like, or I kind of wanted to ask you like when did you just kind of recognize that for yourself?
Hmm.
This is not something I want to fight like with the company. Like I don't want to continue to be like, "Oh, well," or try to find solutions for the company, for yourself.
When it felt like nobody was communicating with each other.
Hmm.
Because the way that my last organization was structured is that we had so I worked in a revenue department. So there were people who focused on our sponsorships and people who focused on like our earned revenue. Like we provide a service such as you can put an advertisement on our website or you can, advertise a job on our jobs board, right? Which gets like X thousand amount of viewers a month and da 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 da. There was a side of people who did that. Then there was a side of people who focused on the philanthropic side, right? Like, say, Bill Gates gives money. Now his ex
Right.
gives money, like, and it's not always famous people. Like sometimes it is like the CEO of Home Depot, right? Like who decides to give money, right? Like all those type of people. And we deal with that side. I was in that lane. And so I focused, so myself as the associate, I was about to go into my job description. That's not what you asked. Associate, and then my boss was a director, and then her boss was the VP, who was my original boss, actually, funny enough. And when I talked to the director a week after having a conversation with the VP, and when I told her, like, we had a conversation, but he basically said that anybody who wants to directly fundraise at this organization is going to need 10 or more years of experience. And that there was really no room for me to move in that direction. She said, "Oh, he said that?" So I
So,
know that
yeah,
you all
okay.
have weekly check-ins, like
Right.
you and I have a weekly check-in, and if
Right.
not,
One-on-ones kind
I
of
know
thing.
that you can make a meeting on his calendar
Yeah.
without me knowing. So if between the last time that I spoke to you, the time that I spoke to him, and now a week later when I'm speaking to you again, you all have not spoken, you're not serious.
Right. And also it just seems
Yeah,
like there's a lack of kind of transparency and knowledge
right,
between
right,
like people that should be working together. So,
right. And none of you have gone to HR. None of
yeah.
you have initiated anything with HR to be like, let's just have a conversation about what's possible in this
Right.
situation. Because when somebody's telling you like they want to do something and you're telling them like no, 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 what do you think is going to happen from that conversation?
Yeah.
Y'all are older. Y'all are 50. Okay, y'all know what happens after that. Y'all are not green to this, right? Like so, um, that was when I knew I was. It was literally that line where I was like, oh, they're not serious.
Yeah.
They're not serious. And like even me telling them like, and I also knew that there was gonna be things that I needed because getting up, getting dressed, and going to the office is a monetary nuisance. But it is a booster in my morale. Sitting at home on the computer all day, me,
Yeah.
baby, I would barely do my damn homework in college.
Right.
Like I would barely want to do my homework in college because it meant I had to sit down by myself because I can't. Because remember how y'all used to say, "I never seen you do work."
No, we don't. We never saw you do work in college. Like,
And mind you, I was
opposed to our previous co-hosts that would
right,
be in the library
exactly,
24/7. Like,
exactly, right, exactly. We'd be running in there and be like, "Let's go to Dixie Queen," or "Let's go to
yeah.
Cookout," or
You have
"Let's
to
just go
go
to
in
the
and
roof."
physically grab her out of that
Right, or
space.
right, exactly. And so I
Yeah.
think about that sometimes because I was like, yeah, because most of the time that you saw me, I was socializing. I was, honey, we would stay in that damn excuse me. We would stay in that cafeteria for like 2 or 3 hours
More
at
than that,
night.
probably.
Right.
Like, honestly,
Like
it was
they would
bad.
remember they would shut down the
Yeah.
cafeteria
The gates
and
would
we
be
would
coming
still be
down, and
there.
we would still be in there.
And we would
Like,
still be in there.
yeah.
And so all that to say, like, as a big personality, as somebody who like thrives off the energy of being around other people, hence why I didn't like run off to the library like our former co-host, right? Like during mealtime or whatever time, um, is because that's where I like that's my source. Like that's where I feel most comfortable. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time by myself in my room. Like that's not that's not it for me. And so I think coming into the workforce, I think I enjoyed it as the first thing because like if I wanted to go to the club on a Friday, the laptop closes, I
Right.
take
The
five
laptop
steps,
closed
I'm in
at
the
5.
shower.
Right.
I'm in the shower after 5 steps.
Right.
Okay? Now it's like the laptop, I want to go to happy hour, the laptop closes. I got to think about, okay, do I need to put this in my bag to bring with me to happy hour? And then like yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all the
Yeah.
extra steps.
There's a
Like
lot more. Yeah.
I need to put on the right clothes because I don't want to like be wearing this. Can y'all see this? I don't want to be like wearing something like this at happy hour. Like it just
Right.
feels too much. Like it's like, sorry, I'm not gonna say that actually. But like I don't want to be bid on. Like, oh, where you thought you was going to a fashion show? Like, what you got that on for? We at happy hour anyway.
The
Yeah,
accent came out for a second.
and so, um, yeah,
Yeah.
all that to say that like it also became like some things that they would never be able to oblige, right? Like you
Hmm.
cannot turn your fully remote company into a hybrid company like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not gonna happen. So I was gonna have to go eventually anyway. But it would have been much easier to make the decision if I just needed to go because I needed to be outside more or I needed to be around coworkers more than to make the decision because you all are not invested in
Right.
the growth and the development of your employee first and foremost. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think.
what? So then, alternatively, what made you want to stay where you were?
I think for me, like, it's really about having conversations. And like you were having conversations as well, right? But I think I got a different outcome where it's like, yes, we see what you're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like we see that you're taking on more complex taxes. Tax
tasks.
what?
Have
Taxes?
you
No.
filed your taxes?
Yes, I filed my taxes. Have you?
Yeah, I filed my taxes in February.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
get that
that
out of the way
refund
because I will
came.
forget.
That refund came while I was switching jobs, which was great because I got
Yeah,
a
I was like, that's
refund.
good
I got
timing.
a refund both at both levels. I hope me saying this publicly does not like ruin me next year. Um,
I think it's okay.
hey, you
Yeah,
never know. The
I
IRS
also got a
could
refund
be
at both
listening.
levels, so
Okay, good.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, you were still working.
yeah. But yeah, I think just the conversations with my leadership and my hierarchy is that yeah, we see you taking on more complex tasks. We see you being able to be more independent and like
Hmm.
doing things that are whatever. We also see you wanting to do even more complex stuff or like wanting to develop yourself personally, with
Hmm.
like the leadership program, which this also comes up in the next episode, but I graduated from that since the last episode. they see me trying to develop myself personally,
Yeah.
both within the corporate structure of what I do and outside of it. And, when you're having when you are doing that for yourself, you have to initiate the conversations like, hey, is there room for
Right.
XYZ
Right.
for my next steps, right?
Right.
Because they're not going to just come to you and be like, yeah, we see you doing this, we see you doing this. And
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that they won't do that, but most of the time, you have to be the one to initiate that conversation. So, yeah, just when you see yourself, and I think this is kind of my final nugget here too,
Mm-hmm.
is that, you know, when you are getting to a point where you feel like you are doing,
Yeah.
above and beyond, you have to advocate for yourself and have the conversation, start the conversation, and, be willing to hear what you hear back from people and reevaluate from there, so yeah. What about you? Any final nuggets before we wrap?
Final nuggets. 3.
Three.
Always negotiate.
Yes.
Always negotiate. Number 2, do not shy away from the conversations about your growth and your development because it is your career and it is your path. Number 3 is um, how did I lose my train of thought? Oh, always use their money before your money when it comes to professional development. Never go anywhere that will not pay for you to develop.
That's real.
I'm done.
Yeah. No, actually, this is just a side note, but I was thinking too, when you're negotiating and stuff, think
Mm.
about your travel as well. Like you can bring that into
Mm-hmm.
to talks about your base salary. Like if you have to travel at all to your
Oh,
workplace
yes, yes,
versus,
yes.
yeah,
I
that's what
thought
I
you
mean.
meant
Not
like,
like not like PTO travel. I mean like if you are having to go into the office and you're having to spend gas every day,
mm,
XYZ.
mm-hmm.
Those are negotiating points too. Like you have to know your specific circumstance,
Absolutely.
especially since like most people are being put back into the office right now. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So think
I
about
guess
that.
you're safe from that.
I'm okay for now. Hopefully for a long while. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I think we had a pretty good episode here. I hope you
Yeah.
guys got something out of it. Just kind of being transparent with our audience about what we're going through, and hopefully you guys can
Yes. And we're gonna have to
either
put a
not.
buffer episode. We're gonna have to put a buffer episode where you all get to know us more than our careers. Just
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Just
I'm
one.
like, I feel like you guys just know us as the BA, the BS of the duo.
Right.
Like, so yeah, yeah, we'll definitely have to do an episode where, you just get to know us,
Yes.
personally. But yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
Signing off. Let me do like
Yeah,
you.
signing off. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe if you haven't done so. Comment, interact with us on Instagram, stuff like that. So, yeah. Peace out.
Bye.